So, DJ RIKKEE.
Yes.
Welcome to the tub.
Welcome. Thank you.
This is Take You Back podcast.
Yeah.
You know, it's my first podcast. This is number one. But,
Excellent.
Basically, I just want to go through for a bit of history from yourself, really. Straight from dream state all the way through to the present day, really.
I do have a story to tell. It does go back a long way.
So, yeah, I mean, so where did it all first start?
Right, okay. Some people weren't even born before this time, but for me, it started around about 1988. I was 17, and I just got into acid house music, and I absolutely loved it. But I like dancing as well, so I might talk about the dancing story, because that's ultimately what put me into DJing. So when I was old enough to get into clubs, you know, borrowing my cousin's driving licence and trying to get in clubs. I mean, for me, when I was 17, 18, I looked like I was about 12. That's why I'm 50 now and I only look 35.
Don't we all?
But yeah, when in 1988, 89, I was really young for my age and I struggled to get in any clubs at all. And the only clubs that seemed to accept me were the acid house clubs in Blackpool, because they just wanted anyone in there. So we went in there and we got into it, and very young like that. And like everyone else, we used to like dancing on the floor, and it started off with acid dancing, but then it went into a different style of dancing, like a jazz fusion. There was I always remember a video, T-Coy by Carino. And it was on an album of what was it called now? It's Mike Pickering. That's it.
Yeah.
Bad memory. And that video, there's some dances on it called Foot Patrol, and me and a couple of friends, we all wanted to start dancing like that. So we bought suits and we bought spats and we started going around all the clubs in Blackpool. Right. And we got quite a bit of a following because we got really good at dancing. And whenever we went into clubs, they'd form circles on the floor. And we'd go in the middle and we'd do all this kind of jazz fusion dancing. And it was this point, 1988, 89, when I'd gone into one club. We went into a Waves under-18s disco. And Barry, Funky B, who was just a normal DJ at the time, used to DJ the Blackpool circuit. He used to work in different clubs, Barry and Titch. And I remember going into there, you know, and we went in with all the shoes on and everything like that, and Barry was like, oh, aye. Because Barry was a bit of a dancer as well. He liked dancing. And instantly he was like, play this song, we play that song, we play this song, because we want to dance to it. And he was, you know, Barry being Barry, you know, we just hit it off straight away. And, you know, we started competing, dancing in the clubs on the floor. And that's kind of where it all started.
So what was your dance group called?
We were called Floor Masters.
Floor Masters, that was it, yeah?
Yeah, but it was like, it was a revised version of Floor Masters. Floor Masters was a lot earlier. Joe, Green Bins, Paul Kearns, Wayne, and Damon, I think it was, and Mark McKinnon, and that crew. They were the first Floor Masters, and they did it in the mid '80s. So they used to go into Hounshill Centre with the Lino and the Ghetto Blaster, and you know they used to do all the body popping and the breakdancing. So yeah, Wayne, Hawkeye, and Joe Inky became one of my best friends, and with the Floor Masters. And when I got to meet Joe in 88, 89, we kind of hit it off, and that's how we formed a newer version of the Floor Masters, if you like. And me, Joe, a guy called Carl Freestone, one of my old school friends, Stuart, and we were the first formation. Then after that formation of Floor Masters, we had Phil, one of my old raving pals, introduced him to raving, Phil Oates, and Nigel, who was the guy who used to go into Blackpool Palace. So, you know, we'd just learn, we'd go back to our rooms, and we'd do stuff. And anyway, we ended up going to a Hitman and Her night. Shouldn't say this, but we did, and we ended up getting on the stage, and then we ended up touring with them. We went to about 12 different nights. But that was kind of in parallel of the music changing as well. So 89, there was warehouse parties going on, and I'd started going to the Blackburn warehouse parties, and I'd go to Munro's, and I'd go and see John Jay and Green Bins and Welly all play there. And I always made the connection with that and then into the parties. Yeah. So I'd go to warehouse parties, and quite often I'd put my spats on and I'd go and stand there on the roof and I'd just be dancing all night. you know, influenced.
Yeah.
And when I saw the power of, you know, what John Jay and Green Bins, when they was in there playing on the decks and they were just controlling the audience, it was like instant like that. I want to be a DJ. Yeah. That's what I want to do.
That's what influenced you.
Yes, really. It was watching John Jay and Green Bins and that, you know, because they were a Blackpool crew. So we always used to follow the Blackpool crew to the parties. Yeah. And it was just, it was very niche then. But you felt like it was part of, you know, this little outfit. You know, we're all going to parties at weekend. We're not going to nightclubs now. We're going to warehouse parties. And that was great. So, you know, Friday nights turned into the Hacienda on the Friday night, and Saturday night turned into Monroe's and then warehouse parties, and that happened throughout 1990. So, whilst all this was happening, I was still going out in clubs now and again, and I'd still bump into Barry. By now, he was playing at Oz nightclub with Titch, and we'd got a bit of a following because we'd been on the Hitman and Her as well, so they used to announce us when they come into clubs, oh, the Flowmasters are here from the Hitman and Her, and all holidaymakers would be like, oh my God, they're from the Hitman and Her. So for us, you know, we got a lot of attention, which was great. Yeah.
I know all about that attention.
Yeah. So, and it did a couple of things. It put me of age so I could get into clubs because I still look really young for my age. But I wanted this DJing. And because I knew Barry, I'd become a friend of Barry. It was Barry that I went to see. One day I just went banging on his door and said, you know, Barry, I want to be a DJ. And it was at that point when Barry said, right, okay, might be able to sort you out with some stuff. He only gave me the crappy deck you could ever get. And he gave me another deck. One of them was a Technics Quartz, and it didn't have a pitch control on it. Right. I had this tiny little mixer, and I had this Pioneer deck, a belt drive deck, and it had a little dial on the top to speed up and slow down, a little dial pitch control. And from that point onwards, and it was, I always remember the very first time I started DJing, I recorded my set, and it was at a friend's house. I've still got it on tape. And it's the smashiest, horriblest set you'll ever hear. But I was, this is how arrogant I was then. I'd be like, this tape is going to be the first time I've ever been on the decks, and I've still got it. And it's an absolute car crash, don't get me wrong, and it just mixes in. I just found out what to do with a crossfader and stuff. And I did it at a friend's house, first time on the decks, and I was bragging about it, and I made 10 copies of it and tried to sell them to my friends.
Well, there's the entrepreneur.
Yeah. Wow. And it was Barry that kind of handed me the stuff over because he knew I could dance and I liked music, and he said, Rick, he said, you'll be a good DJ. He said, you know, you kind of know what you like. He says, and that's the main thing about being a DJ. So I owe a lot to Barry, and I owe a lot to John Jay, really. They're kind of my first inspirations into it. And, you know, all I did then was every night after work, because then I was, you know, I did have a daytime job. I would finish my job, I'd eat my tea, I'd go upstairs into my room, and I would just practice, and I would have to speed up and slow down on this deck to make the mixes work. So for about 6 months, I was doing this, and I got it off to a fine art because I was matching BPMs of tracks and stuff, so I wasn't mixing that much. And within 6 months, I think it was around about February 91, I got my first gig, and that was at Hackett's nightclub, which was the old venue.
Right, okay.
And it was working downstairs in the bar, but it was just, you know, come in at 8 o'clock and play some music. So I remember turning up and playing my first gig.
Wow. And
just after, you know, getting a set of decks and being on the set of decks where all the pitch controls work was weird.
Yeah, I bet.
Because I'd still be playing the deck on one fixed speed, but I'll be using the Technics pitch control, speeding up and slowing down. I wasn't using the other one because I was used to doing this. Shortly after that, you know, and I can go on, you know, about the DJ journey, I'd saved up enough money. You know, I think it's about £400 for a set of Technics 1200s. And I wanted to buy these decks from a DJ from Blackpool, Vince, black guy. He's not with us anymore now. Rest in peace, God rest his soul. But he was one of the original pioneers of the acid house in the northwest, because Vinny D. Wares was playing at the Village in Blackpool in 1960, and he brought John Jay under his wings. You know, that's who he brought in, and Vince always kind of had people around, little rookie DJs all coming in to play, and I bought my first set of decks from him. But I always remember there was a conversation. My dad's a taxi driver, and he got Barry into a car, and he said, "Oh, he's into this DJing now." And Barry's like, "Yeah, it'd be great. He wants 400 quid for a set of decks," and I'm just, I just don't know whether he's wasting his money or not. And apparently Barry has said to my dad, you let him get the decks. He'll be absolutely brilliant. He's working in a club already. Just let him do it. And that was kind of my parents' nod to say, okay, he wants to be a DJ now. And that was that passage as well there.
So that was it? That was the beginning?
It was, yeah. And because I knew Vince as well, I got to play I got down to go to Retro at Angels and see Paul Taylor. And we used to sit in the back of the car when he'd go and play with him. But that got me into the circle of people within the clubs. Yeah. So it wasn't too long before, I was playing at Danza, which was a night where Sasha would play. Right. It was a house music night. Yeah. And Dick Johnson, who's like a massive international DJ now, they'd have Pixie on, they'd have Graham, they'd have Mike Pickering playing, and, all these big name DJs and that. But I got to play the first 2 hours. Over a period of time, I think it was about 3 or 4 months I got to play, but I was a bit I would say I was a bit reckless as a DJ. I was very, I was young. I was 19 years old. I was very headstrong because all this had happened, and all of a sudden I was like playing in these clubs, still early sets, but playing as a warm up DJ. And it was one night I was playing at Danza, and they'd opened. It was an Oz nightclub. And they'd opened the back room, and I was in the back room with Gary Hickson and Harvey Jones, who was a radio DJ, and they put me on at 12 o'clock midnight, and that was the same time when Mike Pickering was playing in the main room at Oz as the guest DJ, and Rickee being Rickee went on and just played all his favourite records because it was a big slot for me. I wanted to make my mark. Oh, yeah. And, my Uncle Ian had said, just do it, Rick, just go for it. Anyway, as the story turned out, I emptied the main room, and the back room was absolutely crammed with people. Wow. And it was a statement, but I also lost my job that night. The promoter, Mark Magoo, kind of came over to me and had a chat and he said, "Oh, you're a really good DJ," and that. He said, "But we're trying something different. It's 1991. Rave was splitting up and house music was taking another route, and it was like we're trying to educate the people. We want to go down this housey, progressive route and keep it quite laid back, not go for the obvious arms in the air tunes, and because I like partying." I wanted the arms in the air stuff, and it was that night when I kind of said, he said, you either need to leave or, you'll have to go and find your way as a DJ somewhere else, or you can keep playing with us and work with us. And me being headstrong I said, "Fuck you," or something like that, and off I went because I just thought I'll get a job DJing somewhere else. As it turns out, all those DJs that played for Danza back then all went on to be massive international headline DJs. So, but I wasn't that serious about it, and the thing for me was it was always about the party and enjoying myself. I got attention. And I just loved it. I just loved the music. And
you was younger than them guys anyway, was you?
I think Dick Johnson was roughly about the same age as me, thereabouts. But Mike Pickering and the other guys, he was at least 5 or 10 years older. They're a lot more mature, a lot more intelligent. I mean, I was very immature. 19, 20 years old. I didn't even know, the power that I had before my hands, because for me it was all about dropping my tunes, dropping a few pills, and just having a load of fun, But
that's it. Well, that's all you think when you're that age, I suppose, don't you?
So to answer your first question, that's kind of how it all started.
Yeah, nice. So from there, I mean, you started running your own events, did you? From then on?
No, there was still a period. So later in 91 and 92, I started going to Sequins nightclub.
Yeah.
So I'd been to Sequins when there were Frenzy nights on a Thursday and Strobe, and that once again John Jay was playing there. They did Freestyle 90 and Sasha had played at Sequins.
Wow.
Then there was a period of Shaboo, so I went out clubbing, into Shaboo, and I just really just getting engrossed by the music. But around about 91, later 91, the Mix Factory were playing at Sequins. Now, they were there for a short period of time, but then they broke away again. And then there was a night that was put on shortly after that, a Raver Plus, and it was like a big packet of Rizzlers, an orange one. And that was the first flyer where I actually got my name on.
Right, yeah.
Because it was me, it was Barry, the Mix Factory were on, Green Bins was on, DJ Ant, another young DJ that Debbie was bringing through. I don't know what happened to him, but he was only about 16, 17, but he was a really good DJ as well. So I was in this mix, and that's kind of when I started working with Barry as a DJ then, because Barry was in the scene now playing, and I'd come into the scene as well, so I'd become friends with Barry. As well, and he'd kind of been watching me how I was progressing, and I'd been watching him, and we did that, and that's kind of the point. I think that was a turning point when, me and Barry started getting together, and shortly came after that, as the turn of, I think it was turn of 92, around then, it was still a bit early for the Dream State nights, but I'd gone to Sequins, so there was a time. When I was younger, I used to have really sticky out ears, and I got bullied at school, for it, and I had my name down to have them pinned back, and it only come through when I was about 20 years old, so I said, sod it, I'm going to have it done, but I had it done, and I had the operation done, I had this great big bandage around my head, I looked like I had like a turban on my head, and I remember my brother writing DJ RIKKEE around the back in a marker pen, and I'd put holes through all the padding here so I could still listen music when I was practicing mixing. Now, there was a job coming up at Sequins, and it was an audition to DJ at Sequins, and this was when the Mix Factory had gone. There was Neil J playing, there was Mark McKinnon, there was a couple of other DJs, can't think. I think Jay Weirden had showed his face there, and I did an interview with this on my head.
Wow.
And the promoter said, are you sure you know what you're doing? And arrogant me, being arrogant me, I said, listen, I just feel the mixes. I can just look at the records, and I said, it'll be fine, don't worry about it. But I put holes through so I could actually hear.
Brilliant.
So interview went well. Yeah. And they said, yeah, you're brilliant, got a great set of tunes, got a great idea. And that was my residency, starting at Sequins nightclub. And I was there, and I used to play because it was 8 o'clock till 10, 10 till 12, and 12 till 2. You'd only get 3 DJs on in the night, or they'd share, or they'd break it up, but it was usually 2 hours or 1 hour, and then people would swap. So it was always kind of mixed up. And there was one particular night I'd moved up to the 10 till 12 slot, because obviously I was quite good, and the promoter really liked how I was playing. And then it was one particular night when the promoter said, listen, I'm going to swap you with the guy from Bolton who used to DJ at Rock World, who's called Neil J. And he swapped my set with his set, and I got to play the later slot. And basically shit at the fan. And the DJ kicked off, threw his records, and left the building. So what happened after that, the place kind of fell apart a little bit. Wow. And the promoter stopped. And by then I was friends with Pete, who had Sequins. And I just said, well, I said, don't worry about it. I said, I've got 6 crates of records. I said, I'll just run it myself. Yeah. And for about 3 months, I was going in at 8 o'clock and playing all the way till 2 on my own. So I did the whole thing. I used to do Sequins on my own. And I did that right over Christmas and New Year of 1992, I think that was. Yeah, it was. It would have been 91 into 92. So I literally did the whole thing on my own. I had Unique Free coming in, the band, and they'd come on the mic and talk, and they'd do stuff, and it was just great fun. I mean, Sequins wasn't at capacity then. It was probably pulling about maybe 400 people in, because the place could hold probably about 900 people in total. Yeah, but used to squash a lot more in. Yeah. They used to get 11, 12, 1,300 people in. Yeah.
Back in the day, yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So it was at that point when they brought the Mix Factory back.
So what kind of genre was you playing then at that time?
It was just basically, it was rave music. You know, you started off the night with like the slower stuff. So I'd usually play slower Belgium-y, techno-y, maybe a bit of borderline house. So it was almost you'd buy it in the shop and you say that's a warm-up song, that's a 10 o'clock song, that's an 11 o'clock track, you know. And the thing is that the night had that journey, because you would warm up with certain tracks, you know, and they'd usually be quite I used to like playing Belgium-y, Belgium techno, all that kind of stuff, and I'd build it up harder and harder and harder. I got to about 11 o'clock because I knew 11 o'clock everyone's coming up, so you need to start bringing on the piano and all the lifts and that. So between 11 and 12, I would have an hour of music with just taking you up.
Yeah. Wow.
So by the time midnight happened, for that last 2 hours, it was arms in the air for the last 2 hours, and you'd always finish the last half an hour with some old classic tunes, you know, like JJ Tribute, all those have got, you know, back then that was only 1 year old, by the way, that song, you know, but that was classed as an anthem then, so that would get it, or Ultracynic, Nothing Lasts Forever, you know, I'm Coming Hardcore, you know, all these was these would be the last tune of the night. Wow. So yeah, but then the Mix Factory came back, and then I worked with the Mix Factory. So I became part of the Mix Factory Foundation, I suppose. Yeah. And that happened for about 6 months. And I got to go with the Mix Factory to the Banshee, Applejacks. I used to go on Sunset 102 Radio. And all I was just doing the first 2 hours. So I'd do 8 till 10 o'clock. And then the Mix Factory would come and they'd play 10 till 2. So the coaches would turn up and then they'd take over. And then there was nights when Mix Factory had just brought out Take Me Away and Burning and all them tracks. So they was touring as well. So on the nights they was touring, I would run the night with another lad called DJ Stubby. So we'd just run it between us, you know, on the night, and we'd have a lot of fun, you know, because we had the audience and it was great. And, you know, so that was it. And it was after that point when I started working with Barry. Right,
okay. And that's when Dream State started?
Yeah, we did a night first called Confusion.
Oh, right, okay.
At, I can't think of the name of the place now, is it? It wasn't Nellie Dean's. It was a karaoke bar on Central Promenade. Right in the middle. Can't think of... It wasn't Nellie Dean's, it was called something else.
Was it Minica's, was it?
No, it was right down Central Promenade near the Foxhole. Get the Gaiety Bar.
Oh, right, yeah. Still there, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, the Gaiety Bar. And me and Barry put our heads together. We did a flyer, and we said, let's do our own night. Let's do a hardcore night, because I think it was midpoint of 92 going up to 93-ish area. Yeah. And that's when me and Barry put our first night on together, and we put a few guest DJs on. And it was, I can't remember what, it was some crazy night. I think it might have been a Wednesday or a Thursday night, I don't know. But that was kind of the first seed.
So how was that then? Did you
it was okay. We had DJ like Motivation on and stuff. But it was okay. It was just people coming in inquisitive, curious, you know. Because, you know, there wasn't many clubs in the Northwest. There was the known clubs, but then there was other clubs starting to pop up by this time. And it was at that point, at the same time, when Vinny landed in Blackpool. So Vinny came from London, and he came from the world of, I've been to Rain Dance and World Dance, and he's been down in the field with raves, and he was just absolutely blown away by it. And he'd come up north to say, I want to put raves on up north. And I don't know how Barry got to meet Vinny. That's probably a story for Barry. But between Barry and Vinny, they kind of launched the Dream State thing. I got involved a little bit on the design. I designed Harry's promotions and stuff, and I was there as a resident DJ, so I was always kind of looked after in that aspect. Yeah. But you know, that's when I was fully fledged, working with Barry, part of Dream State, working with Vinny as well, and you know, from that we got Dream State nights, and also we got the Orgasm nights as well, which happened at the Love Shack. But Dream State was... It was just off the scale. Yeah. Yeah.
So was that your full-time job at that time?
By this time, yeah. I mean, I was, when I left school, I became a roof tiler, so a slater and tiler by trade.
Wow.
And I got at the point of going to warehouse parties in 89, 90. You know, I'd turn up Monday morning, still like...
You don't want to be on that roof, no.
Running up a ladder. Falling off a ladder. I remember, you know, one visible memory. I'd been to a bank holiday rave at... in Redcar in Newcastle. It's a Butterlogie, and we was part of the John Jay convoy. Yeah. So we was on our way in green bins, and we was on our way over to there, and it was a Monday, it was a bank holiday Monday, and I borrowed the works van, and it was this big old red Sherpa van, and I had about 25 people in there. I had Tony Dredd in there, Dredd MC. I had a load of the other party friends, and I just basically filled up the van and said, right, we're going. And literally, we came out of there at 4 o'clock in the morning, absolutely spangled. And it was at least a 3-hour drive, a 3.5-hour drive back. Oh, so I timed it, right, if I leave at 4:30, I'll be back at 7:30, 8 o'clock, which is time to go to work on the Tuesday morning.
Hit the lads up for work on the Tuesday morning, like.
And honestly, I'll never forget that journey home. I was like fucking cross-eyed, like, and it was like, it was just random. Was going over the hills just before hitting the M6, and an actual deer, ran through the field. Yeah. And jumped in front of the van. Everyone was asleep in the van, like, you know, just crashed out, and I'm like this, trying to, you know, just stay on the road, and that hit the backside of the deer, hit the bumper, the front bumper of the car, and I saw it go flying off. And honestly, I thought I was tripping, because I just carried on driving. There was a massive thud, like a bang, and I went.
So I had no idea.
And I think Tony Walker said, "What was that? What was that?" And I just, I said, "I think I just hit a deer." And someone went, "Oh dear." And I was just like, just not with it. I just on the autopilot. Anyway, we stopped at the service stations, and when I got out to look at the front of the car, there you had it. There was this great hairy, greasy ball of hair, brown hair, where I'd actually give the deer a proper smack on the arse. So I don't know if I just clipped it because it carried on, you know, I didn't kill it, but I think a millisecond short, if we'd have gone over that
would have been it. Done for.
We might not have been here.
Yeah.
Because
that would have been the use gone, yeah.
Yeah.
And through the windscreen, and that was it.
It was at that point where I thought, I'm here for a reason. You know, there's lots of things happened in my life like that where it's not been, you know.
Yeah, lucky escapes, like.
Yeah. So.
Nice.
Yeah.
Well, that is a story now.
Yeah. As I say, I've got loads of stories. I can just, you know, they can just go on and on and on.
So from there, I mean, like, from when I started listening to Fever, that's where I started listening to you myself. You know, you was one of my inspirations when I was younger, obviously, and you know, and that's where that story. I mean, the beforehand is you know, it's good to listen to, and like the Fever is that was my it gets my hairs on the back of my neck.
Yeah, yeah.
The Fever crew was like everything to me when I was growing up.
Yeah, and it's a funny thing, you know, because the Fever sound was very much an Italian sound, but it wasn't, because we basically the story of Fever, and I need to go back a little bit just to kind of say the reasons why. Yeah. The story of Fever was always a hybrid sound, but we started playing Italian house just to steal the Zone audience, to get people in our venue.
Right.
Because we was Dream State, we played hardcore.
Right, okay.
You know, when we, I know. So when we did the Dream State nights at Madison Avenue, it was absolutely mental. Madison's and Macy's, 2,400 people. There was 1,000 people outside, and the law would just shut us down because it was absolute mayhem. Yeah. The capacity of the clubs just couldn't hold it, and people were travelling all over because we had all the top DJs on from the south coming up. So we took it to the Empire in Morecambe. Right. Once again, 1,500 people, loads of people. That's how we called Cox on, you know. Yeah. And it was mental. So once again, short-lived, because for the success of what it was too, we was too big for our own good.
Right.
Then we had the kiss of death, basically. it was absolute mayhem again. So the kiss of death moment, we went to the Dome. Went to the Carlton Club, actually, which was good. That was a Friday night. Once again, all-night licences. So we went to the Dome in Morecambe. It was at the Dome in Morecambe where I met AJ. AJ had come over from the Isle of Man. And he had tapes. He was a DJ, and he was handing them out in Melody House and everything. So he'd been round to Barry's and dropped a tape in. Because I think Debbie had said, "Oh, speak to Barry. He's hardcore and this and that." And the tape got through, AJ's tape, and Barry handed the tape to me because I used to get all the tapes and I used to go, yeah, no, because Barry just couldn't be arsed listening to him. we got a tape from DJ Salmon one year,
right.
Piano Man. He kept sending tapes through us, and I got to listen to them. But I don't know why we never booked him because he was a good DJ. But I just don't think it wasn't, you know, someone had said no, but we could have had DJ Salmon on as well.
Well,
but
you were the yes and no man, weren't you?
well, I said, yeah, he's good. And the same with AJ as well. I listened to AJ and I said, AJ's brilliant. I said, he's absolutely on fire, this DJ. We need to get him on. Yeah. And it was at the Dome in Morecambe when I met AJ, and we spent the evening just giving out flyers, taking the mickey out of everyone in the street and that. And, you know, that's where me and AJ hit it off. But AJ was supposed to be a DJ. Yeah. But we'd got some DJs on, Donovan Bad Boy Smith and Nookie, and all hard DJs, all drum and bass, jungle style DJs. And I think it was just a step too far because we'd gone hardcore. And it was out in the middle of nowhere, and we did these big stage props in the Dome, and we'd planned to get Groove Rider on. Right. And it was the week Groove Rider was on that we decided not to do it because we'd heard that Sequins was gone up for grabs.
Right, okay, so yeah.
And this is at the point, so AJ was a DJ. When AJ got on the microphone, he sounded like a hardcore MC because he liked Mad P from Top Buzz. So he used to rhyme some of his rhymes. Like, sounds like Top Buzz. This is brilliant. You know, so that's when AJ started out saying, fucking brilliant MC and the DJ. So when Sequence came up, there was a decision. I think Vinny had stepped out, and basically me and Barry sat there and said, right, what we're going to do? Sequence. Right. Zone had gone to the venue, Melody House Promotions and Zone had gone to the venue, which was the old village, Hackett's, the venue. Yeah. Sequence was up for grabs. Back to home, we were struggling, we wasn't making any money. We said, oh, do you know what? Let's just go and play a load of Zone music. Make a flyer. Yeah. And I remember me and Barry sat in the front room and we thought of Fever. Right, Fever, it's contagious. We drew the picture of the face with our artwork because we were both creative. Yeah. And between us, we just scripted this idea. Right, Fever. Yeah, we're going to play all the stuff that Zone play. So if there's people still going, we'll keep them. If the plan, the strategy was to get in there, hold the audience by playing a load of Zone stuff, and slowly turn them. And it's exactly what we did. Yes. It's exactly what we did. Oh. So we got it in April '94. By August, it was half and half. There was 50% Italian, rest of it was happy hardcore in the middle. We speeded it up, we slowed it down, and instantly we created our own USP that was not the same as Zone, because Zone was purist Italian DJs. You know, they had the vibe for that night, but because we'd come from Dream State and Orgasm and the harder nights, we was like, we want to speed it up, we want to get everyone at it. Yeah. So that's, once again, I think it's my roots as well coming through. Oh yeah.
So it became more of an underground kind of niche style.
Yeah, it was really energetic, and you know, there was a lot of people from Lee really liked the sound that we was doing because it was different. Because they go to a venue one week and they come back and say, "Oh, I prefer it here because you still play all that stuff, then you play all this other stuff, which is it's just mental." Yeah. So that's why we captivated, and there was a point at Sequence by October, November '94. We was at capacity. We was locking out several hundred people. So me and Barry being me and Barry, went and got another club just round the corner. So we got the Adam and Eve Club, which held 400 or 500 people at a squeeze.
Right.
So we brought another flyer out saying, don't worry if you can't get in, we've got another club just around the corner, and we flyered it, and we filled that club as well. And me and Barry was running between clubs playing at both venues.
Wasn't it? So you had like consecutive events going on?
Yeah, same night on a Saturday night, we'd run around the road. We had Reefer, Pepe, Jagger, AJ, we was all getting stuck in. And we was working the two clubs for a period of time just to stop people going to Zone.
Yeah, it's a big rivalry.
It's always been like it's never been like an evil rival. It's always been a friendly rivalry because, you know, we bought all our music from Melody House. So at the end of the day, they was carte blanche. They had it. Yeah. You know, they was really conducting the orchestra.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
You know. But we'd always had that, you know, and it was at that point as well. I was doing tape covers for Debbie D. I was doing all the Zone tape covers. I was designing them.
Yeah. So there was never really too much of a rivalry in that sense.
No, because we designed our own flyers. I was into the graphic. I've always been arty, so I did that with Barry, and then I did my own tape covers, and I did Debbie's tape covers for Zone for a period of time. So it was always kind of friends in a way. Yeah. And you know, I even played at Zone at Jenks Bar when Zone was at Jenks Bar. You know, I played, you know, as a guest DJ on Andy Pendle's first ever night playing for Zone.
What year was that?
1993.
Wow.
Yeah, and I think Andy was like quite a young, you know, very young, you know, new DJ, but really good DJ. And he got one side of the tape and I got the other. I can't remember what volume is. All the Zone fans, Steve Landy, they'll all know exactly what Zone volume number it is. Yeah, it's out there.
Wow, definitely.
So, you know, and we've always known all these people, you know, Matt Bell, Chris Baker. We always had them on our Dream State nights, early doors, playing like slower music to build up. Yeah. You know, and that we always had them at our events as well. So it was always sort of like being quite close together.
One big family, really, isn't it? Mm. And it was all the Blackpool crew, was it? Everyone just...
It was, yeah. You know, we had a bit of a run-in. We got when Sequins. Now this is a story. So Sequins closed. I think it was February 1995, because basically. Pete had a holiday and they sent someone else in and realised it wasn't £5 and load of pub drinkers, it was a massive stonking rave. Yeah. So the brewery stepped in and closed it down. But we struggled to get a night after that because of our success again, victims of our own success, we couldn't get a venue. And we took it to Oz and we signed with First Leisure over the road. But the way we'd signed the contracts, we'd signed 75% of the door take to us, 25% to First Leisure, and it should have been the other way around. So we only got 2 nights out of them. They closed us down, but we made a lot of money.
So was that's when you went to Oz?
Fever at Oz. We only did 2 nights.
Did you?
Yeah, and then we was out again. We've got 1,500 people. We haven't got a venue to put them in. Right, we went to Wigan Pier. By then we was doing videos as well, and we took a video with us. We went to see, I think it's called Dave, the owner of Wigan Pier, and he said, right, we've got 1,500 people, we haven't got a club. He said, right, come and talk to us. So we talked to him about the night, how he's been building. He said, yeah, really like it. We brought a video just to show you what our nights are like, and he literally watched the video, and we shot ourselves in the foot because we showed him an enormous queue. That went down way past the arcades. We showed him the club where there's a sea of heads and lasers, and he was like, my venue only holds 600 people. You're getting 1,500 people in and you're struggling your capacity. He says, we can't take you. So Wigan Pier wanted us, but we was too big.
Well, that's how Wigan Pier ended up anyway, didn't it?
Yeah, but we was too big for Wigan Pier.
And the queues coming out the door with the steam.
It was too big, and we ended up going to Barristers in the end because we just couldn't get a venue. Now that Barristers were like, once again, 600, really low ceiling club, but it was down to the point where it was like we just need a venue. Yeah. You know, and we'd lost a load of people. They'd started going to bowlers. You know,
back to Zone.
Back to Zone, yeah. You know, and it was really hard because to go from a venue like Sequins, then to Oz, and then to Barristers, it was a massive culture shock because it was a black, dark, sweaty club. Don't get me wrong, it's absolutely brilliant in there. You know, it was fantastic, but it only held 600 people. Yeah. So, you know, we lost a few people because it wasn't their vibe. They wanted to be in a bigger club. So we got more of a core following than a Fever. And that's when we kind of went a little bit back to our roots again. So that was when Happy Fever and the happy hardcore thing came through again. Right, okay. So we're still playing Italian house, but we'd gone and we was bringing Hixie, we had Psy, we had DJ Demand, Brisk. So we was bringing all the happy hardcore DJs in then.
Right, okay. And where was this at?
This was at Barristers.
Barristers, yeah.
Yeah, in Preston, 1995, yeah. Oh. So we really stepped up the notch again. Yeah. And that's why 2001 was such a big tune. Because I think it was volume 5 of Fever that I opened the tape with that. But the first time I dropped 2001 in there, the place just went fucking mental. Yeah. It literally shook the roof. But you couldn't wear white in that club because you came out covered in black spots and it was black sweat dripping from the roof. Filth, mould. Oh. Yeah, it's a bit like the Crick.
Stinky.
Crick sweat.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Best days, though, eh? Yeah, coming out stinking.
Yeah.
Why not?
So, yeah, so he went from there then to the Cooler, to the Hooters and the Cooler.
So back to Blackpool.
Yeah, what happened with Barristers was Gary Hypnotic came in, right, and we started working with Hypnotic for a while, but we was more rivals, and Gary will appreciate me saying this. You know, we were rivals. They was Wigan and we was Blackpool in the north, and they had upfront promotions. We had high risk promotions, and there was always that going on because it was battling for the same audiences. So it went on. Yeah. And shortly after that we just moved away. We went back to Blackpool and got Hooters, and we changed the name to the Cooler. Right. Yeah. And it kind of, we stayed there till 1996, but we were still doing Dream State and Fever nights at the Palace nightclub. So we still did big one-off bank holiday events.
I was going to say that. Why? Like, how did you approach the Palace before you approached Wigan Pier?
Yeah, we basically the Palace wasn't the right venue, right, because it was a commercial venue. Yeah. So they was never going to take us on board over a commercial audience, because at the end of the day, it's 1,500 people taking ease and drinking water. Yeah. It's not spending thousands and thousands of pounds over the bar. It's
business. Yeah.
So we was always up against that as well.
So that was like the last of Fever then, was it?
Yeah.
For you.
Yeah.
So you went parted your ways
and. Yeah, that was a bit of an awful story, really. Because I was working at the Cooler with Barry, and Barry had gone off with Vinny, working in Russia for a few weeks. So I was there to man the decks, and it just, I don't know. I was probably a little bit arrogant, and the owner of the club wasn't happy that Barry had gone, and he threatened to sack him when he comes back, and I'm going to get rid of you all. He said, oh, I'll keep you as a DJ and stuff like that. So I just went a little bit headstrong and said, well, I'll carry on. And that's kind of when Fever split, and I created the Escape night at the Cooler. Oh, yeah. And Barry went on to Kennedy's and did a Fever night there. And he carried the name on, but I kind of did this for a short period of time. And it was all right. They wanted to try and go a little bit different. So we started playing a little bit of early hard house and a little bit of other house as well. So Richard, the owner of the club, had it in his idea. He wanted to go for the housey crew as well. So I kind of went with that. And he offered me a really attractive wage and a lot of other things as well to stay. So I kind of went with it. And it wasn't a nice breakup because it come between us. Yeah.
So you fell out.
The money had come between us, really. And, it when you look back, it's, it was wrong.
More,
But I was 25 years old then. So I was still a bit, what you got to remember is I was, the world was my oyster, I was a nightmare, I just thought I was the best thing, and I had so much arrogance. And it was at that point, later in '96, when I lost my brother, you know, and that happened in August. And for me, that was just a shell shock. Everything stopped for 3 years. You know, I just packed in for 3 years then. Yeah.
So did you get back in contact with Barry after that? Like...
Yeah, there was a period, obviously, when Gary's funeral happened and everything like that, everyone came together for it. And it was when Barry had gone to the new Empire Complex in '97, so he was putting a night on. You know, he was back doing it again. So there was stuff going on, but we'd kind of parted our ways now. And there was a couple of areas where we had come together working again. We did a couple of Fever reunions at the, through the later night, through the turn of the millennium.
Because this hotel was at the Fever reunion.
There was one there. There was one at Madison Avenue at the turn of the millennium. And there was one in the main entrance, the old Love Shack. So that, you know, would still turn out for them. But I kind of packed in DJing. I didn't DJ from 1996 to 99. Tell a lie, I did start playing house music. I went out and bought a load of house music. And it was just, I don't know, I was just grieving maybe. But I ended up playing in Manchester at Dry Bar and just playing a couple of random events. You know, just playing this really sleazy, laid-back house music. So once again, it was just another vibe for me. It was from my old contacts from the Danza days. I kind of still knew a few people, and it was like, oh, come and play here. You know, just come and do a bit of this. So I did that a couple, but it was never proper. And it was only when I got into going out again, I went to Maxime's. I went back to the old zone at Maxime's. And Debbie was there, and everyone, and Andy, and Pendle, and
familiar faces, yeah.
And everyone was like, "Oh my God, DJ Rikkie's here! DJ Rikkie's here!" And it was like a wave. It was like, all these people like, "DJ Rikkie's here! DJ Rikkie's here!" And they were like, "What? Where have you been? Where have you been for the last 3 years?" I was like, "Oh, you know, my brother died." Just packed in. I said, well, do you want to play? Do you want to have a guest slot? And that, you know, that was it. I think it was February, 1999. I played Debbie D's birthday. And it was a guest slot. I had Kane with me and AJ, and the place went fucking mental. Oh yeah. Yeah, and it was at that point they said, right, come on, we'll take you, and that's when I started working with Zone.
So you're glad you got back? Are you glad you got back into the DJing on that respect?
Yeah, I mean, I'm always glad, you know, of that. You know, it's always been there for me. But yeah, and I worked at Maxime's then throughout. Got the nickname Hot Dog.
Why was that? What was that? Oh, come on. I'll have to hear this one.
Because basically, I just used to drink.
Right.
So I used to get a taxi because I lived in Everton, into Wigan, or I'd get a car or a lift or whatever, and I would be in there drinking, and everyone else would be off tits. And they had a hot dog van outside. So at midpoint in the night, after my DJ set, I'd always go outside and I'd get a hot dog and make everyone feel sick.
Yeah, knock everyone sick.
Yeah. Tony Saville, Tony J, you know, the DJ, he gave me that name, Hot Dog. And it's always stuck with me with the Preston lot.
Oh, funny.
Yeah. But it was good. I enjoyed working in Maxime's.
Yeah, it's a decent club. I mean, it's obviously it's closed, but things move on, don't they?
Yeah, music was changing again. Yeah. And that's kind of where foreplay starts.
Yeah, of course.
You know, always the innovator.
So yeah, I mean, foreplay, we don't want to scratch over, we don't want to go too much into it, because I want to hopefully get you guys back as a collective. But, you know, then it all changed again for you.
It did, yeah. So basically, the reason why it changed and why we moved away was because the music was changing. And we were still playing Italian house and stuff like that, but, you know, El Nino was being dropped, hard house, some trance was coming through, and, you know, Andy Pendle loved playing, you know, the trancey stuff. He got a lot of big buzz from it. But it was a time of the millennium, you know, a few things happened. And we just felt like, I personally felt like it was maybe time to just try something else. Yeah. And it was only because of, you know, a certain Stephen J, that really sparked the idea for me to go and create a new night.
And then the whole scene changed.
Yeah,
really, didn't it?
but I'll save that story for when it's the foreplay one. But yeah, you know, we set up foreplay, went to the mill in Preston, and we literally launched hard house and trance in the Northwest. I think we was before Wigan Pier.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Because they got onto it at, I'd say, a similar time, but just after. I think we was trailblazing.
Yeah. So it was coming anyway, but
It was coming, but
did you create the sound?
Well, yeah, we wanted hard house.
Yeah.
And we wanted trance. We wanted to play what we wanted to play without being told what we should be playing.
Yeah.
And it was the first night for Andy Pendle to DJ in a club and play what the hell he wants. No rules. Buy your records, play what you want. And for him, that was, I think, the best feeling for him.
Yeah, freedom.
That freedom to just go and just choose what he wants and play what he wants. And, at the end of the day, that's what DJs should really have, that control. Yeah. That own choice. And Zone's always been about, this is our sound, this is how we play, and it's been elements of restriction in a way. Yeah, I wouldn't say it was a tight restriction, but there's always been Zone's always had a vibe. Yeah. And that's why Zone is still so strong today, because they stuck to the core values of what they are as a night, and full respect for that. Yeah. But also in the same breath, I know Andy was like, I just want to, you just get that, you just want to go a little bit further. So yeah, I gave the doorway to walk through and allow him to do that. And we went from the mill to the Cricketer, and that was when the all-nighter started, and it was just insane.
Yeah, that's when it all started.
Yeah, that's when I launched, got Andy Farrell, got Desire, got John, got them all working for us, all the little crews coming together, growing up, going, what's this?
I was one of them.
It was 99, 2000, it was 2000, 2001, and then Scouse House started showing its face around about 2001, 2002, and it was like a weaker version of the proper hard house. I'm a hard house person, and trance.
Yeah, it's a happier
but
version,
the bounce, the Scouse House side, it was definitely had a cheesier side to it. But at the end of the day, it's the Northwest. That's what everyone wants. That's kind of we went into the Cricketer. We wasn't as full on. We had to kind of tender to a Wigan Pier audience that was coming in, because we was a bit dark. Well, I certainly was a bit dark, and I made sure I put DJs around me that weren't as dark as me, because I would clear a dance floor.
So you needed like the commercial side.
But I always wanted to be different. Yeah, and throughout my entire career, I've always wanted to have difference. Yeah. Nobody plays like me. Through every scene, and it might not be for everybody. I am a little bit of a crowd pleaser, but everyone will know when I'm on the decks, because there'll be signature music being played that no one else has been playing. But I purposely went out to find stuff that it just goes. You've got the middle of the road, then you've got the left and the right, and you'll find me, right on the edge of that. Just trying to push stuff through. Yeah. Just trying to push the vibe differently, and it was because of what I did with foreplay. Yeah. And what we said, this is how we're going to do it. We was taking the Maxime's vibe and turning it into a harder vibe. So let's give them, but let's just push it. Let's just train them and educate. And maybe it comes back from the earlier days. I don't know, but I've always had that in me to do that.
Yeah, it definitely did.
And with that comes bringing new people through as well. Foreplay will always bring people in as well. Give them a chance. Don't put people in the queue and wait and come to your night. Get them on, let them play. That was always been my mantra really for nights.
I think Andy Farrell took a lot from that as well. I think
he did, yeah.
Because he's been like that in most of his events.
Yeah.
And all these DJs that he has collectively is. When I was going through the scene, I mean, they were all different. He wanted the different DJs with the different sounds.
Yeah.
And it's kind of progressed from there. Really.
Yeah.
That's why it still works.
You know, and there was always a place for something else. So, you know, Andy said he wants to do his own thing. You know, they'd done the Churchill's night in Lee with Gary Selects, and I played at that. I think that was the first step into it. And then they said they want to do something a bit more. So I think it was Reach for the Sky that came first at the Cricketer, right, which was like a bit of an old school vibe. Yeah. But Desire and John G, you know, they was brought up on the Italian house, so, you know, they had a better collection than me. So you could see what they were trying to do in that. And then I think Sanctuary came after that. But I hope, you know, I think I was a big influence on Andy because he could see what I was doing and how I was doing it, you know, and for him to pick up Sanctuary and do that, I set him off with a flyer. I designed Sanctuary logo. I said, right, here's your logo, here's your flyer, do this, speak to him, do that, and off you go. and he just grabbed it by, you know, grabbed the bull by both horns and away, you know, and it, you know, good on him.
I think you're an inspiration to more than Andy Farrell, mate. I think it goes throughout the whole of the Northwest Bounce and old school scene. Well, definitely, you know. You're an absolute legend to me, anyway. It's, you're one of the. I did one of the first events with you, and it's when we did 51st State. We was up at 51st State, and that's.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Yeah, that was a long time ago. It's now Pure, isn't it?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, because we'd left the Cricketer and then we was bombing about again. 51st State came onto it. We did the Springbok in Wigan, which was trying to be really commercial in Scouse. Yeah. But you know, I think we paid Davey T £600 for Milk Inc. with a K. And basically, it was just some woman that he brought with him and said, "Yeah, here's a microphone, mime, and I'll put a record on."
Yeah, that was
and we handed over £600 to Davey T. Yeah, I know. But you do these things, don't you?
Yeah, of course.
We could have done it ourselves. We should have done it ourselves. We'd have made more money.
So from there, I mean, you kind of like you took some time out, didn't you? After that kind of.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I was. That about 2005, I think it was, the foreplay again. It was, I wasn't getting the right vibe from it. I'd been donked to death, basically.
Yeah, I think everyone did.
And some of the productions, some of the stuff that was being put out onto vinyl, I just thought, they're taking all the songs of my era from the 90s and there was just a surgence of really badly produced music. And I mean, Four Players did a few, but you know, I like to think ours were a little bit better. Maybe not much, but a little bit. But you know, and you could see that it was the market was just being saturated, and for me, I just think I just had enough again, because I go through phases. You know, I have done through my entire career. I've gone through phases. Yeah. And it was after that I started working with Dave Gore. So we did nights called Like This, Like That at the really fancy hotels, Gilley Court. Right. What was the other one? Hague Hall, up Holland Hall. Yeah. And there was all these great big fancy mansion-like venues. Yeah. But Like This and Like That. Like This was all funky house. Yeah. Like That was old school. Right. So I was going with my 90s old school and playing the FBI Project and JJ Tribute and getting a great response from the house audience. Yeah. And it was at that point when I started playing house as well with Dave and went over to Ibiza, played at Garland's, Pucker Up, you know, did a few venues. So I had a nice little venture into the world of Ibiza, which really opened my eyes as well.
Oh, it does, yeah.
You know, it was one moment. I was playing in the back room at Garland's, and it was an old school in the back room, but new house in the front. And there was a load of people, massive gang of people from Salford come over and went, "Oh my God, you're DJ RIKKEE." And I went, "From Sequins." And I went, "Yeah." And he went, "Brilliant." And there were like 100 people in there, all from Salford, just like bouncing around.
Crazy. That is a crazy one.
I know. It's like, I'm trying to be house here. And yeah, Ricardo mode. Not DJ RIKKEE. Ricardo mode. And it was at that point, you know, kind of did that. And it was at that point when I met Kath in 2007, my wife. And it was only because we were supposed to be DJing in Manchester, a Spectrum.
Wow.
And the night was cancelled.
Right.
It was a bank holiday and Eric Murillo was playing at Bolton. So I'd been working at Parda Lounge in Wigan, playing house music there. And I knew a DJ called Andy Banks. And it was Andy Banks' mate was Catherine, his DJ friend. And she went to Garland's and everywhere. Yeah. And it was only that night going to Eric Murillo because of his cancellation that I met her. Wow. And, you know, I didn't get with her that night. It was the week after. Because she was like my age, I just offered her a date to Groove Armada, and that was it.
What a date.
Ricky stopped DJing again. Ricky retired, you know. Yeah. And that was really when I decided really that I maybe just take it back a little bit now. Yeah. You know, because I'd found the one, 36.
36.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah. And and it was, you know, I was doing art then, and that was when I was still listening to music, but I was listening to new music, so it was house and tech house, and that's when, you know, we did a few Fever revivals, and that's when I got talking to you. I think that's when it must have been about 4 or 5 months after, because I'd been DJing and playing it, just doing selfish DJ sets, really, to myself for when I'm painting. Oh, yeah. And we did the Seduction thing. It was about 2012, wasn't it?
2011, 2012,
yeah.
Yeah, I've been back for
so that was delving into house music again. But by that point, I was, you know, I'd kind of moved away from it. And I said I'd retired, but I keep doing the odd reunion now and again. Syndicate reunion, did that. Yeah. And it was just good to go out and do it, you know, and play.
So then, now you've come out of retirement.
Yeah. It's Rejuvenation's fault. Cypher got me a few years ago, and I've been playing for Cypher, and I just got the buzz back. Yeah. But playing old, but playing trance as well, and I think that's kind of reignited a vibe, you know. And rather than getting back into DJing, I've gone into the studio and just started producing. And
you're in your element at the minute. I mean, some of the stuff I listened to before was just absolutely unbelievable. Yeah, and I was getting rushes anyway.
Well, the thing is, I'm quite old now, and I don't want to be in clubs every single weekend. I'd rather be in a studio, you know, crafting a sound, I think.
Yeah, but if you
making
that
a
sound too nice,
I know I could be in Japan next year.
Yeah, that's the problem, you know.
Yeah, could be on private jets like Camel Fat or Salado. That'd be nice. Yeah. It might not happen, but there's definitely an ambition.
No, but yeah, I mean,
it's a midlife crisis, I think, this producing. Now I've hit 50, I feel like, you know, there's life in the old dog. And when I see Carl Cox and the age of them, and I know it's been top of the game for those people for such a long time, but they're inspirational. Yeah. Because of their age, they're still doing it, and it's like, why not?
Why not? Yeah.
Why not? If you've got a creative set or you've got a skill set or something that you can give, why not? And, you know, a lot of the pandemic has crafting away a sound. I mean, I work with my co-producer Will, who's a classically trained, you know, piano multi-instrumentalist. He's just an absolute genius. I mean, he makes I like to call it spa music, but he makes piano concertos, and he's published in the US. Wow. So he makes all this really melodic, really elaborate, complex piano concertos. And the reason how Somatronic came around was because my little girl Violet, she'll be 10 in April. She's been playing the violin for 4 years now. She's really good. But I took her to a local music studio where I live in Longridge, and I got talking to Alan and Will. I was like, oh yeah, I used to be a DJ, did a bit of this, did a bit of that. And Will was like, oh, brilliant, I love Swedish House Mafia, Dead Mouse. I started making EDM in 2012, and we were both as enthusiastic as each other, and was like bouncing off each other, like, ah! It's like getting giddy now. Whoa, what's all this about? And Catherine just said, listen, go and get in a studio with him. Yeah. Just go and see what you can do. And that was 3.5 years ago.
Well, she would have seen the fire in your heart.
The fire. Yeah. So, 3.5 years later, working really hard, the intricacies of, studio production, it's not as easy as you think. We finally landed a big major deal. Yeah. And there's a release coming in a few weeks' time. So it's kind of the return on the investment to doing all that blood, sweat and tears, doing it, it's starting to pay off. It just, it is possible, even at 50 years old, there still might be a chance, to do something, and it'd be great to bring techno properly into this region, because at the moment, techno is out there.
Yeah. It is
it is in small pockets and it's raw techno and it's heavy and it's full on.
Yeah.
But there's a techno that's 130 BPM. People say it's not techno, but it is. It's dark and moody, but it has breakdowns that's like takes you back to, Marco V, 2005, big hard trance anthems. Yeah. It's a real hybrid sound, but there's so much energy in it. Yeah. And kind of that's where we just pointed ourselves. We're going there, and it's, this type of sound is coming from Spain and Italy. And it's great because when you think about those people who were producing music in the 90s, it's just an evolution. It's just a progression of what they're doing because you can hear it in the synths. When they break down the synthesizers, it's all in there. It's got that vibe, a 90s vibe and a millennium vibe
more
about
a commercially kind of sound, which is going to obviously capture the audience.
Yeah, I wouldn't say it was commercial. I would say it was probably more accessible. It's something that, people can kind of say, oh,
yeah. That's it.
I like this.
Yeah.
What's this?
Yeah.
Because it's got loads of energy and it's got breakdowns that just make you go, ah. So it's not EDM because EDM is very short and there's a real intelligence to the music.
It's still techno.
And for me, it feels like that time when I was in Maxime's and I was saying, hey, we're making foreplay. We're going to do this and we're going to play like this. It's almost that kind of vibe about it. And I'm just hoping that, it emerges around here because I think it'll be accessible to a lot of, people that are going out listening to the same old stuff. Once again, what you got to remember is music has to progress. I know it's great to be reminiscent about the old stuff, but there is new music out there as well that carries the vibe of new, because, you still need something fresh,
And you're out there to give it us. Why not?
Yeah, well, we'll see. We'll see.
Well, by the sound, what I was listening to.
The thing is, I'm getting a lot of love from it. I'm getting a lot of enjoyment from it, so,
That's the main thing. We're never too old. We're never too old for music. Ever.
No.
Can't be.
Yeah.
But yeah, so what have you got coming up then? Or any gigs coming up?
No, well, for me, it really is about production, but it would be nice to, channel into that, these pockets of club nights that are happening, because I think, we will launch as a brand, and I think things will get really exciting quite soon, but I think probably maybe 6 to 12 months away. But it would be nice to kind of get out there and play this sound, because I think I've only ever really heard it in my own studio or in my car, to be in a club and hear it, and that I think it takes on a new dimension, and it feels really exciting. But yeah, at the moment, I don't know. I don't want to go into the world of promotion again. It'd be nice to work with a promoter and maybe push some ideas forward. Yeah. Maybe
take the back step on it.
Yeah, I just maybe provide some guidance. I think.
Yeah.
I think guiding somebody into it, and because at the end of the day, it's the same old story. It's the same rule. It's the same theory. The only method of promotion now is it's now online. It's not paper. Yeah. It's not going into fashion shops and picking up a flyer. Yeah. It's done a different way. But it's the same method, you know. So, you know, I'd like to see that emerge. It would be nice, and to kind of be in the background, just pushing a few little people out to say, do you know what, grab this, because if this happens in this area, the opportunities are a lot bigger. It's a global sound.
Yeah.
It's not, you know, it's not Scouse House in the northwest of England. It's not Funky House, which only happens in Manchester and Liverpool and around. It's not the pockets of Italian house that happen in Newcastle and the northwest of England. This is actually a global sound that can become incredibly lucrative if it does hit.
If it's delivered the right way.
Yeah.
Well, you've heard it yourself. Pioneer, the one and only DJ RIKKEE. So, I mean, yeah, we can wrap it up there if you want.
Yeah, I think I've said enough.
Yeah, but we'll
people haven't fallen asleep.
I look forward to you coming in with a foreplay lot, and that should be pretty entertaining.
Yeah, we've got some great stories. I saved all that. You know, there's easily an hour or so, and there's probably an hour or so with Barry on Fever. You know,
I think he said he's going to be here for 3 days.
Yeah, me and Barry. Put me and Barry in a room, we'll be at it for about 4 hours. Have to start in the morning.
Oh yeah, all the way through, straight through, no break.
Yeah.
But yeah, brilliant. Thanks very much for coming in.
No, you're welcome. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate it, mate. A lot.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot. Thanks everyone for listening in.
Cheers, guys. That's it. Thank you.